Guys, I just found out my bum of a boyfriend has been stealing money for me this entire time to buy his mistress a Tesla. Let's get right into it. I'm a 27-year-old female married to my husband Phil. We got married when I was quite young, but at the time, we thought it was a good idea. He was a successful businessman and I was just starting to make a name for myself in my field. While my mother warned me about getting married at a young age, I did not listen to her. Maybe I should have done so, but now the damage is done. About 5 years ago, my husband's business started doing badly. He was always stressed due to having to lay off employees and reduce production. He even considered selling the house in a bid to save the company. He also tried to get a loan to help with a few cash flow problems, but he was not granted one because his business was high risk. Even his friends could not help him. In the end, he gave up on saving the company and he had to sell the remaining assets to pay back the massive debt that they incurred. My job was paying well, but I was still a junior employee, so that led us to have a tight budget. He had a few $1,000s left over from the sale of the company, so we were okay for a few months. We discussed the topic of him getting a job, but he told me he was frightened to start over from scratch and work for someone else. He'd always been a proud man, so going back to working for someone was not in his plans. He was worried too much about what people would say since he was once successful. I knew better than that than to pressure him, so I just told him he could take a break for a while and we would see what to do. He promised me that very soon he would start another business that would be more successful than ever. He always kept this promise in the past, so I decided to give him the benefit of the doubt. People were gossiping about us, and it came back to me that some of my friends felt as if I was wasting my time staying with him. But money was not everything for me, so I stayed. I've taken vows when I married him after all. I tried my hardest to support him while he was depressed over the issue of him losing his business. I started advancing my career and I gained a senior position at my workplace, which meant that I was earning much more money. I worked long hours, however. Our money problems became a thing of the past, and I became the sole breadwinner. In the 5 years since he lost his job, nothing that he had done had been successful. I paid for his car, his lifestyle, and everything else. I tried my hardest to be patient with him, as I knew that he did want to provide for me. It was just that he could not find any investors and he feared starting over again. As I mentioned earlier, his pride has always been on one of his vices. There was nothing much that I could do but wait and continue to support him. But then, I started to feel as if I was being taken advantage of. I would come home from work on most days and find the house was dirty, and he'd spend all day eating snacks and watching television, which would cause arguments because I would be very tired from work and I would have to start cleaning and cooking for someone who's been sitting on the couch all day. He was becoming quite unfit from staying cooped up all day, so I told him to go out more often as being cooped up was not good for his mental health. I could see that he was not doing well, but he refused to look for a job or even go to therapy, all because of his ego. At least this time he listened to me and he told me that he would soon start going to the local gym. I was happy. I had been begging for him to join the gym for months, but he always refused. He told me of a gym that his friends went to and I paid for his membership. Things between us started to improve and he started to get more confidence in himself, talking about doing something about his situation. Now, we have a joint savings account, but all the money in there is mine. He has all the info though in case of an emergency. We agreed that we would not touch that money. It was for an emergency or starting something of our own in a few years. However, a few days after he started going to the gym, I got a notification that he's withdrawn a couple of $1,000s. I was puzzled as he's never made such a big withdrawal before. When I asked him about it, he acted quite embarrassed and let me know that he needed new suits because he wanted to start job hunting. I was surprised but glad that he was taking his future more seriously and I did not put it to mind. Now, we are very transparent with each other when it comes to phone passwords, finances, etc. We usually plan the monthly budget together. It was quite a surprise to me when I got the credit card statement and it was much higher than it had been before. I confronted him about it, and he said that it was probably because of my shopping too much. But then, I checked each individual item, which led me to find irregularities. There was a purchase of an expensive perfume and a luxury bag of all things, and those things don't come cheap. Even though I make good money, I would not buy such that particular brand. I called my provider and demanded to know why I was getting charged for something I did not own. I demanded that an investigation into the matter be done, and for that to remove the charge immediately. They said they would get back to me soon. I told him about it, and he told me not to get mad, but he had bought those things for his mom. Okay, now I was pissed. It was a bag costing a lot of money. How could he have made such a decision without me? But once again, he pacified me with stupid excuses, but I was starting to get suspicious of him. Yes, he had said that he was looking for a job, but it had been weeks now and he's found nothing. He was a very qualified man. I would even go as far to call him an expert in his field. It would be very impossible for him to not find a job. I do not usually go around talking about marriage with anyone, but I needed someone else to help me with this whole situation in a different way. I risked it and told my friend Rosie about my suspicions. I was sure that my husband was keeping a secret from me, maybe even another woman. But I had combed through his phone and not found any females seem to be overly friendly with him. She asked me if he's taken any money from me besides the amount of the bag and suits, but I said the bank had not called me to inform me of withdrawals. She asked me if I had requested a statement or checked my account balance since then, and I realized I have not. Due to my job, it's difficult to keep track of a lot of things at the same time. I rely on emails and phone calls to be more informed about important things. The only accounts that I do a manual check for are the ones from work and our credit cards. I quickly logged onto my banking website and started reading through the transactions. I got a huge shock when I noticed that nearly all my money was gone. I had to log in and out several times to check the balance again. I couldn't believe it. I called the bank, certain there was some sort of bug on the site or something, but they let me know that I've been withdrawing large amounts of money in the past few months. Now, this was only possible because the account was not a fixed deposit account. I had switched it to a simple savings account a few months before I got the promotion because money was tight. The gist of it was that more than half of my money had been withdrawn, and everything checked out on their side. There was no evidence of fraud. I could not say how much was in the account, but let me tell you, it was a lot. I demanded to know why I have not been informed about the withdrawals, and apparently, I've listed my husband as the one to get notifications. I got off the phone with the bank and I was fuming. I wanted to find out exactly what was so important that he had to withdraw nearly all the money without my permission. It would have been in my best interest to confront him, but I knew that he would probably tell me some lame excuse, which I did not trust myself not to believe. I had to catch him red-handed, then I would see what to do. I hoped that he had gambled away all my money. That would be the last straw. That night, I waited until he was asleep and took his phone. I started to look through all of his chats with women again, but I found nothing. But then I decided to look through every single chat. Maybe he owed some money to someone and had all the info in the chat. Then I finally got the jackpot. Because in his archives there was a chat with a person saved as Accountant John. In his freaking archives. Which I've been dumb enough not to check. There was nothing concrete, only a message from this John telling him to meet him after the gym tomorrow at the last place they met at 11 a.m. Obviously, I was going to tag along with him. I called in sick to work, then pretended to leave for work the following morning. I had been too blind to see, but the man was well groomed. I used to have to force him to get a haircut most of the time, but now he had a fresh cut. I hoped against hope that I was not about to see what I thought I was going to see. I left my car at Rosie's and took hers, which she had left for me and taken another car. I parked at the gym's parking lot and waited for him. Sure enough, he arrived at about 9:30 a.m. and was out in about an hour later. He got into his car and drove away, but I was close behind him. He drove to a part of town that I never went to and stopped at a restaurant that I've never been to. A few minutes after he got in, I followed after him, and there, in the restaurant, was my man with some blonde woman holding her hand. I did not immediately approach them. I wanted to make sure this was really what was happening. You know that moment when you're struggling to believe what's right in front of you? Yeah, I had one of those. And then the little madam said something that made me lose it. I cannot remember the exact words, but it was close to this. "You have the money, right? I cannot wait for us to go buy my Tesla." I kid you not. There are no words under the sun to describe how I felt, so I will not even try. I interrupted and told her to forget about the Tesla because it's not going to happen. I got a clearer look at her, and she was much younger than me. Her dress was also very revealing. My husband looked very scared, and he told me not to make a scene and he would talk at home. As you can tell, I was not in the mood to be told to be calmed down. I started to insult both of them, causing everyone to look at us. My husband sat there and looked calm while I exchanged words with her. She told me that she was much younger and more beautiful than I was, which was why my husband was with her. I asked him if it's true, but he told me to try and calm down. I have once recently begun to realize that he has the toxic trait of mansplaining things to me as if I'm a child. And in the past, I was gullible enough to let him, until his lies were revealed. I told him to come and pick up his clothes before the end of the day or he would find them outside. Then I left. I would have loved to teach that woman a lesson before leaving, but I was so angry I feared I would break her bones. Sure enough, a few minutes after I got home, he came slithering in. He told me that he loved me and she did not mean anything to him, as if that would help the matter. It only made me angrier, and I reminded me about how I stood by him for 5 years when he had nothing, made sure that we did not starve, and did not leave him as everyone else advised. He told me that he felt depressed for not being able to provide for me. I intimidated him with my success, and ever since I got my senior position, I don't have any time for him. This was the same man who would be gone for days when he still had his business, but I did not complain even once. I told him that I've been working hard so that we could have a good life, so that he could go and spoil his mistress with my hard-earned money. Then I would go home to him and he would lie to me every day. I asked him about the job that he's supposedly been looking for, and the suits that he supposedly bought the first time he took my money. He was not even decent enough to tell me the truth. In fact, his entire explanation of the whole situation had so many holes in it. I took out all the papers from the bank and showed him how he had cleaned me out. He told me he had no choice. He was lonely and she understood him. She made him feel like a man, apparently. At that point, I was sick and tired of his lame excuses, so I told him to get out of my house. I spent the whole night thinking about what to do, as he had double-crossed me. Divorce would simply not be good enough. I wanted him to pay for all that, and his mistress had put me through. I got a lot of messages from his family, mainly his mother, who never saw that her son was wrong. She had not really been supportive of him marrying me because, at the time, I did not have as much money as he did. She had the nerve to tell me that marriage was difficult, but I had to be brave and fight for my marriage. I knew that she was trying to act like she was on my side, and it was mostly likely his doing. This enraged me further, and I decided to sue him for my money, then divorce him. I had wasted so many years of my life on him, and all I had to show for it was a depleted savings account and a broken heart. It's taken me years and countless hours of work to get that money. There was no way I was going to just kick him out and call it a day. I've already set up a meeting with my lawyers to discuss my options, as the whole situation is messy. Hopefully, I'll be able to start the process to sue him soon. Okay guys, Mr. Reddito here. So that was one of the wildest cheating stories I've read in quite a while. The nerve of OP's husband to cheat on her with a mistress while she's fully supporting him and he doesn't even have a job or a dollar to his name. I just don't understand what his contingency plan was when this inevitably fell through. I mean, you can't just withdraw a bunch of money from the bank and expect to not get caught eventually. How would you guys go about this? Let me know what you would do in the comment section below. Would you sue this piece of crap or just cut ties completely and go no contact? I would love to hear your opinion. Our next story of the day is an entitled mother story. I'll go ahead and read the title for you. It says, "My bra offended an entitled mom in my own room, plus some hypocrisy." If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, go ahead and click that subscribe button just in case there's an update for any of these stories. And let's hop into the next story now. Note, half my family is Italian and half is not. On the Italian side, which the entitled mother is from, hitting other people's kids is pretty standard. But on the other one, we don't do it anymore. Some backstory in this situation. I was about 16 at the time and living with my grandparents. They are having a little get-together, but the guests were all told to stay out of my room because I wasn't feeling well. Plus, the cat was in there, with people going in and out of the house, and we did not want him to escape. There was even a huge sign on the door that read, "Please do not disturb, cat inside." Since I was sick, my body wasn't holding its temperature right, so I was in shorts, bra, and shorts, but my robe was right next to me, laying on the back of my bed, just trying to get a little bit of homework done before I passed out again. I told my grandmother to bring some food in when it was ready, and that was that. I heard a little knock on the door. It was super light, so I thought it was maybe Grandma bringing me something to eat. Not wanting to wake me up, I throw the robe on and go, "Yeah, come in." Next thing I know, it's a little gremlin coming in, chocolate all over his face and hands. Of course, he walked right into and started touching the stuff, not closing my door. Luckily, I had grabbed the cat because Grandma is a slow walker. "Wow, cool room," says entitled kid, and tries to pick up one of the notebooks that was really special to me. I took it off the table before he could freaking get his fudge on it. "I'm sorry, bud, but you gotta go back to your mom. You're not supposed to be in here with me. I'm sick." The kid ignored me, still touching the stuff. "I'm bored though, and you have cool stuff. I got shots last night." I shake my head and point to the door. "It's rude to go into someone's room while they say no. Please go play out there with the other kids. I'm sick." I said it firmly this time, and he whines, but he does leave, slamming my door. I shake my head and at this time go to my desk, where all my really fragile art supplies are, clearing a spot for me to eat in a couple of minutes. I start getting really hot, so I take off the robe. Next thing I know, my door flies open, and I barely manage to grab my cat. The entitled mother stood there, red-faced and fuming. "My son said you spanked him." I didn't even touch him once. It should also be known that this entitled mother is known in the family for having a habit of swatting kids if they, quote, step out of line. Something my mom had corrected with threats more than once while I was growing up. Usually ended in her calling me spoiled. She then stooped and looked at me, grasping and covering her eyes as if she's never seen another woman not fully clothed before. "Young lady, that is so indecent. There are children in this house. Put on some clothes." I stare at her dumbfounded and shake my head. "Look, I never hit your kid and would never do that. I'm sick, he shouldn't be coming in here, and neither should you." What followed was her going on for about 5 minutes or so about how I was in the wrong and blah blah blah. My stomach is starting to churn a little bit from stress. I have a stress disorder, and being sick, and I know I'm not going to keep it down for long. I tell her she has to leave now. I'm sick, the cat's scratching the crap out of my boobs at this point, being as I was indecent and trying to keep him from escaping, and she had no right to be in there in the first place. Well, she grabbed me, and, as if I was 6 years old, started to spank me, even managing to get my shorts pulled down. This girl actually smacked my booty, so I did what most people would do. I screamed for my grandfather. "Papa! Papa! She's hitting me!" While I slam her back, her hips slam into my bed frame and I run into the hallway, slamming and holding the door closed behind me while she walks like a banshee. Now, I'm indecent in front of guests, but also pretty important. They can all see like 6 or 7 really bright red marks that are now on my thighs and buttocks. My grandfather was never one to curse profusely, but seeing his half-naked granddaughter with obvious marks from assault standing in the hallway, trying not to have a panic attack, he lost it. He called her so many things I lost count. A few others came into the room screaming at her as well. I'm crying at this point, not because she hurt me, but because I was humiliated, trying just to get back into my room and hide from the world forever. Little did I know it got worse. She started yelling, saying my grandparents spoiled me, and that I hit her kid first. By this point, her own husband was yelling, "No, she didn't!" right in her face, but she didn't seem to care. She took my desk and floored everything on it, breaking a lot of projects I've worked really hard on, and all my supplies spilled everywhere and onto the carpet. She was quickly kicked from the house. Her son admitted to lying, but he felt really bad for what just happened. He was crying, hugging me, saying he was super sorry, and basically being as apologetic as a kid really gets. We never talked to her after that again, except to get the money for my stuff. She refused, but my mom told her she would file charges for sexual assault of a minor, since she pulled my pants down in order to hit me. She would lose her kids if they won the case, which she did a year later anyways, and they live with their much better father. So she gave me roughly $500 out of the court, and I got to call her a jerk to her face. Okay guys, I just think some people are so entitled, it just blows my mind. I did read a funny comment that I'll read right now. It said, "She pulled your pants down to hit you, after calling you indecent for wearing a sports bra?" Makes sense, makes sense. Alright guys, let me know your thoughts on the story and what you would have done if you were in OP's position. I think she did everything she could do, and this escalated rather quickly. That's gonna wrap up the video for today guys. I hope you enjoyed the 2 stories for today, and if you did, go ahead and smash that like button and hit the subscribe button so you never miss an update. Have a wonderful night, and I'll see you in tomorrow's videos. Bye for now.